Okay, you're on.
Gentlemen, all set?
Ready as ever.
Good morning. Welcome to Monday, November 9th, the weekly selectmen's meeting. I'd like to read some instructions so people can monitor us from home. You can also listen via telephone. Please call toll-free 1-877-309-2073, access code 996-433-941. Please note that you'll be able to interact during public input using the online service. However, you will only be able to listen to the meeting via telephone. If you have any issues attending this meeting electronically using the aforementioned instructions, please call 603-569-5903. The next order of business is to honor America. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business, any public input from the public? Anyone on the phone?
Oh, we're not on the phone yet.
Okay,
All right.
go ahead.
Two. And they can only listen,
Yes.
so they can't be on the phone and ask.
Okay.
Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. The access code you entered is invalid. You entered 99664339441. Please re-enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. The access code you entered is invalid. You entered 99643399441. Please re-enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
Get it right.
The access code you entered is invalid. You entered 99646399441. Goodbye.
Oh, really? Just doesn't give you another chance?
You forgot to put a quarter in the phone.
Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. If you are the organizer, press the star key now. Please enter your organizer PIN followed by the pound or hash sign. You are the only participant in this conference.
Thank you, Bill. Review of minutes. First is Board of Selectmen work session 11/2/2020. I have nothing to add.
I will move approval as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next is non-public dated 11/3/2020. I have no issues.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna move these minutes be unsealed.
And I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next is Selectmen's Meeting 11/3/2020. I have no issues.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. We get into appointments. Our code officer. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good.
Well, that's who he is.
So I am, no mask. So I have 109 building permits, there's 15 new homes. I've done 385 inspections. I put the camera in here up on the wall, as you can see. The air conditioners are gone.
And I'll ask my questions about the cameras some other time. When I see a wire hanging down,
Right,
does that plug into what?
it'll plug into the computer.
Okay, into a laptop or something?
Right, I guess. That'll work. The painting on the town office is almost done. The windows on the police side of the parking lot are really bad. They didn't want to do them, but
So can you get those in order?
I might be able to get those on the list with the other ones, so if you want to do them. I mean, it's getting into the wall, so when they scraped and painted them, they found them, so.
Make it happen.
And,
Make it happen.
yeah, is there, I mean, are we buying wooden windows again, or is?
No, they're vinyl,
They're
right?
vinyl. Yeah, they're vinyl windows with plastic trim on the outside, so.
But the current windows are wood.
The current windows that are in the building are wood, maybe jointed casings and sills, and
Right.
they weren't very high quality when they were installed. They were single glazed windows
Yeah.
with storm panels, so.
When he's finishing up painting, there's a little spot here where they put a new access box, I think, for the cable next to it on the outside. of the
On
building.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had anything done in this building yet, so it's
Yeah.
just repair over here down, so.
So is that something he's gonna be able to get to this year?
Yeah, he's gonna touch it up, and I still have to skim this walkway to get rid of that bump at the top, so. Might do it separately.
So are we doing government buildings next week or some other time? We haven't, it's not on this week's agenda.
No?
No.
I have no idea.
So John could bring us something on there, I hope.
I'm trying to get a price of Cooper at the town office, but
Yeah.
let's volunteer to get a price of somebody, so.
I have
Uh,
nothing to add.
the two houses that we have on
Correct.
tax deeds, one of them has
One of them's
been
been
winterized.
winterized, all done, Sauce Road, correct?
Right. And, but beyond that, it's full of stuff, right? So at some point,
Yeah,
we have to,
household stuff, yeah.
we have to get that cleaned out.
I have to give the owner opportunity to go in there and.
Do you know what status is on the other house?
I have no idea.
Okay, so that's something we need to check with Rick on,
Okay.
because I think there's somebody living in there, so they have to go through whatever the court does on that.
I know 2 years ago, we hired a company from Maine to clean up the house on Union Wharf.
Right.
Are they still available, or do you have a?
I would assume so, it's just,
Well,
I
the
mean, a
first,
lot of it's not really junk and clutter, it's, you know, household stuff.
Personal belongings, right?
Correct.
yeah, but the first step is making sure that the former owner
Has an opportunity?
has an opportunity and a deadline to get all the stuff out, and then from
Right.
there, we can work beyond it.
Anything else for Jack? Thank you. As you said, it was going to be short and sweet,
Yeah.
as usual. Next is our appointment with Phil Bennett and Chief Shigori. Yeah, he is. Come on. Welcome back, sir. How you doing? Has everyone read Phil's summary of his thoughts and input? Reference the comparison.
The 139,587 potential contingency savings. Where'd you come up with that?
Well, typically, all GCs, CNMs will carry a contingency fee, so Cobb Hill doing the pricing, we have an actual, the percentage that they would normally allot, so we carry the same percentage for each of them. Just to try to make things comparable.
I had a question. Of the three companies, what did each say the length of the project would take?
Cobb Hill was 6 months, North Branch was 7 to 8, and Martini was 9.
Was Martini the 9, was that the construction?
Yes, that was just the construction.
Because they had gone longer overall originally.
Right, and I'm not sure if you saw their amended schedule they sent in, to assume that in April they would be starting construction as opposed to their previous assumption.
But they're still looking at 9 months from
Correct,
first shovel to turn the lights on.
correct. So it would be into, would be into 22.
Any other input?
Nothing in particular. I mean, we discussed quite a bit of it already at the last meeting.
Chief, any questions you have of Phil or comments?
I guess my concern is, there seems to be a difference in the time to get it done. If it does take the 7 or 8 months, then Cobb Hill's general conditions costs go up, right?
Well, I think if we look at the overall cost of the town, which is probably the right number, because we don't have any idea what the contingency savings are going to be. North Branch is already $150,000 higher than anybody else, so if we're going to eliminate somebody in the first round, they're going to get eliminated, from my perspective. That brings us to Cobb Hill and Martini, who are both within $7,000 of each other. I mean, I think that's where we're getting driven here. The project's going to get completed as fast as the project is going to get completed. I think they were estimating based upon historical occurrences. But we don't have any idea, and I don't think they have any idea how long it's going to actually take, given the supply chains and all the rest of it. So, at any rate, my perspective is we really have to look at cost. If it takes us an extra month to get it done, then it takes an extra month or 2 months. It's the bottom line that really drive it.
If you look at Cobb Hill's cost is $21,000 a month
Yep.
for general conditions. So if they add 2 months,
That's just a divisor though, that's not, they're not gonna get, if they add 2 months, they're not getting an extra $40,000.
If they come in with a GMP with their general conditions,
it doesn't go up.
fixed, then Yeah, the GMP would have the general conditions fixed in that
Oh, okay.
agreement. So at that point, we don't know that it'll be the same after we go through the process to reach the GMP. But
And we haven't finished negotiating either. I mean, this is just the first shot across the bow.
Right.
So if they come in and present that they're gonna get an extra $21,000 no matter how long it takes them every month, that's not gonna work.
Okay, I wasn't sure how that worked, because it's rental on equipment and stuff like that, so I didn't know how that worked. Just that rental.
Right, but the process that we would go through next, the pre-construction phase, they would be going out to bid for all the various elements to their subcontractors and getting a contract, at least a letter of intent. And that's, at that point, they would present a GMP, and then that GMP would have to be a fixed number.
Okay.
And the only way to get additional funds over that GMP would be through a change order, which everybody has to agree on. And a change order would have to have a valid reason why it's gone over schedule and over budget. And at that point, you would have an opportunity to negotiate.
So I understand your concern completely with respect to the general conditions, and that is that if their number in there reflects an assumed 6 months and that goes longer, then that's going to put extra costs into there. Before we sign a construction management contract, after all the drawings are done, after everything's priced out, that number, the general conditions number, will be fixed, right?
Right, as per
So
GMP.
is there a possibility at this point that somebody's coming in with a lowball estimate with the idea that, you know, if it sugars off differently later, well, it's going to be different. And I guess the only way you could kind of get your arms around that is past performance of this construction management company, and you know what their approach is generally. So if they're saying this is a 6-month project, you're familiar with other projects that they've done in the past, and so ought to be able to have some sense for if they're trying to be unrealistically rosy with their construction time to get a leg up on somebody else. And I don't know if that's something that you can speak to.
I guess I would, yeah, to be honest, it's a little concerning that North Branch are still saying 7 to 8 and Colville are saying 6. I think Martini has a different issue. They don't self-perform any of the work, and we all know right now things are really unpredictable. So they've got to I think
They have nobody on their own staff that can swing a hammer or do whatever, so
right.
they're totally the vulnerability of subs in terms of timing. If somebody's doesn't show up on a particular day, that's a day that's lost.
Right, and obviously North Branch and Cobb Hill do have they don't have all the trades, but they've got a number of trades, and some of their tradesmen kind of can put different hats on. So they'll have a method to at least keep progress moving, whereas Martini is left to the whims of their subcontractors, unfortunately. And I think some of that is why Martini's schedule is longer, and I think potentially, I think Cobb Hill and North Branch feel that they, even in the unpredictable times, will be able to cover any minor screw-ups on the schedule from their subs. But the fact that there is potentially as much as a 2 month difference between Cobb Hill and North Branch is a little concerning. Having said that, it's not a complicated structure. With no full foundation, it's going to be frost walls, slab on grade, stick frame walls. Roof trusses will be brought in. Not a lot of services underneath the slab that would take longer to get out of the ground and framing. I think certainly in normal conditions, 6 months is quite feasible. It's just, you know, the unpredictability that we're in right now. And I think that's probably why North Branch pushed it a little bit more to 7 to 8 months.
One of them said it took 4 months just to get the laminated glass.
Right, that is
So-
a concern.
And again, that's not a problem if you know what it is and the day you sign the contract, you order it, then you'll have it here in plenty of time. You're just not gonna need it in 4 months, but yeah. But if you wait until you're ready to put the windows in, and then you order the glass, now you're sitting on your hands for 4 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think Martini took into account a lot of the conditions you just described and padded their build time out to 9 months. I don't think, and yet it still came out within a few $1,000 of Cobb Hill's number. So I guess I'm less concerned about the time than some of the other people here at the table.
I have a couple thoughts. I look at this project and I work backwards. And there are things that the Board of Selectmen and the town of Tufton Borough control on getting the project done. The first thing is, if we have everything set and the day after town meeting can go, that means at least the building is enclosed like the library was and like the fire department was. So now we're not paying people to shovel snow off of roofs and off of foundations. You have repeatedly made the comment that it's a simple structure. Not that anything is simple, but those are two things that we control. The next thing is at town meeting, I assume there'll be a set of drawings, architectural drawings that meet all the specifications that are ready to go, correct?
Right, that is the plan, is that we will have by sometime in January, February, a full set of construction drawings and specification that the CM can go out to bid and have real numbers for the construction of the building prior to the town meeting. So when you go to present it, you say, this is what it's going to cost, and we can sign a contract the day after the meeting to get them moving.
I have a feeling we're all on the same wavelength. I'm working backwards,
Right.
like this, but I'm borrowing on the experiences in the last 9 years. It seems to have worked twice for us, so let's keep it up.
Yeah, I would only say that the biggest unknown is if during this pre-construction process that we can get to a number that you feel the town can.
Deal with in 2021. Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
the biggest issue doesn't involve your figuring. The biggest issue is, can we do it without borrowing money that needs a 2/3 supermajority? And that's a political decision, not a construction consideration.
Correct. I'm just throwing out there that by having the CMs involved, there's no guarantee that we're going to meet that number. Hopefully.
This is the number that we're looking at now.
Right.
Right. What we will have is a real number to go forward with by then. And then the question is, have we got enough different grants and pots of money that we have set aside, as well as current expense, that we can take it to town meeting and present it for an affirmative vote.
Yeah. And I do feel that whoever you go with, we'll know well in advance how far we have to get that number down.
Mm-hmm.
The first round, if you go with Cobb Hill, the first round will be a little bit quicker because they've already done a lot of the legwork. The other two will be able to benefit from that process. So either way, the first round's not going to take very long. We'll have an updated budget number and know what direction we really need to go in. And then the next round, it'll be a number which is pretty close, say within 15 to 20% maximum of what we would expect for the GMP.
Now, the next question is, do we currently have enough money in our budget, past, present, and future, to get to all the figures for town meeting, or do we need to appropriate more money?
Well, we have,
We have money, we just need to make sure that we don't spend it on something else.
right,
Yes.
and, I mean, my reading of this is the most we're gonna spend is $15,000. So, to get to town meeting.
Through the pre-construction phase, right?
For the CN.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, it's still.
That's,
the
that's
soft
beyond
cost.
your cost.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's up there.
Yeah.
But we're not paying him.
Oh, we do a pro bono. You give us a good recommendation.
Send a letter, thank you for your donation.
Yeah.
For tax purposes. Does the board have any more questions, and is the board ready to make a decision?
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'll be happy to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that we award the pre-construction contract to Cobb Hill Construction for a maximum fee of $15,000.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Nice job.
Thanks.
So we need to execute a contract with them and get them and you going. I mean, we're sitting here second week in November, and 2.5 months from now is sort of when you've targeted having final finished drawings, right?
Correct.
So
Yes.
it's we have a heavy lift between now and then, and I apologize, Phil. It's we've kind of gone along through this process with maybe more delays than would have been ideal, but
Nobody said
where we are is yeah, that's right. That's right.
Will do.
Where we are is where we are.
Right, yeah, we'll make it work. I think we still have time, obviously. It's gonna be a boring Christmas break, but.
Yep.
Do you want, will the town notify the three, or would you,
Yeah, we can. We can have Kathy notify.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'd have to, yeah, we'll send a regrets to 2 and congratulations to 1.
Yeah.
okay.
And then ship them your way and get something started. But they
Right.
need to
And
provide
then
us.
So
Send
so
me
you'll
the
let them know,
contract.
and let Phil know that you've corresponded with them, right?
Okay, they send me the contract, you want?
Right.
Right, they'll need to get you a contract to.
But you'll want to review that contract, right? To make sure somebody will need to review
Yeah,
it.
he can copy Phil on the contract, and if he's got some problems, he can let us know.
Yeah.
And let them just move along.
And again, this will only be through the pre-construction piece, so.
Right.
Yeah, we don't send up $1 million.
Okay, thank you.
So that is a kind of question that kind of just comes up since we're going to be going to my budget at some point. If we're talking April, breaking ground, and if they do get it done in 6 months, they turn the keys over in November, October, November. Now it starts coming, it's in our budget next year, right? Some of the stuff beyond. Building at some point, electric bill, fuel, at some point becomes ours next year.
Right.
Yep.
Just something to consider.
Furniture and fittings.
Huh?
Furniture and fittings, all that stuff that you have to sort of populate the building with.
Yep. In terms of operating costs, I'm not concerned. All right. Let's say we get into it in November.
It's just something to have in mind,
You know,
that's all.
Our budgeting is not so tight or exact as we look at what we need for electricity and heat and all that kind of thing that we're gonna be way out.
I think the 2 of you could generate a few estimated costs.
Running costs?
You know.
Yeah, certainly our MEP consultants can generate an estimated energy cost, running cost.
I'm sure we cover it, but just something to have in our
You know,
minds.
right, the point is running a building. The driveway has to be plowed, there's a janitor, there's cleaning.
Well, I mean, we don't have access to the kind of the contracts that you have already with various,
Right.
so plowing and whatnot, and building maintenance would be something that you could provide to us, obviously,
Sure.
but certainly the energy modeling we can carry out.
Yes. Yep.
Just something to keep in mind.
Important to have that for the following year's budgeting.
Right.
And at least be thinking in that direction this year.
Right.
But it is something that the difference between 6 and 9 months can have a little impact at this point anyways. But anyway, that was all.
Okay.
Right. While the chief is here, you want to do police?
Yeah, let's get it now.
Okay.
Thanks.
Travel safe.
Right.
Police Department.
Can I go to overtime, please? That's page.
See, I don't have what you guys, that printout there.
You don't have this?
I have the printout I turned out, but I don't have what you have on the top sheet there.
You don't have this page?
I have that page right here.
That's the page I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But you don't have the,
The thing that Diane put together, I don't have a copy of that.
she didn't give you a copy?
I don't have it. I don't know. She prepares it to you. So I end up going with this and then, which has the same numbers, but she goes the historical stuff,
Right.
which I don't have. Just so you,
So,
if you start talking past years comparisons, I'm gonna be,
yeah, that's fine.
Just to begin,
yeah,
I keep these
yeah,
and they're all encompassing with sick days, vacation days and whatnot.
Yes, it is.
thank you.
And for example, 364 hours sick so far until November 1st. I used the rate of $30.70 an hour, which is overtime.
Okay.
That's $11,189. There's been 320 hours of vacation. That's $9,824. 44 hours of personal day. That's $1,350. Call out at 3 hours minimum overtime is $2,578. And overtime is $6,247. That comes to a total of $31,190 so far this year.
I don't know where you came up with that number.
So I think what you're saying is that,
Pass that around if you want. That's my figures.
right,
Okay.
so that's if we cover all sick time, all vacation time with overtime hours. That's what
Yes.
it would be.
Yes.
But we
But we don't always
We-
have to. That's, I guess,
Right,
life doesn't show up that way.
right.
So is your question, Jim, that the overtime number is going down by $4,000?
I believe the overtime is way too low.
Okay. I got it.
You know, why do we schedule so many hours a week for patrol and then this guy is sick? Well, we'll make do. That's a policy decision, I realize, but
So when somebody's out sick, normally what happens?
Depends on the schedule, it depends on, like, for example, Wednesday, the sergeant's taking a vacation day, I'm covering his shift, there's no overtime for that. If I were to call out sick, there's nobody that, somebody doesn't necessarily have to come in to cover it, so I'm not necessarily slotted patrol. Depends on the day of the week and what's going on. We may, somebody calls in sick, we may, like sometimes people take a day off, instead of covering 16 hours, we cover 12, or we adjust the hours somewhat. So, I mean, we don't have a deep bench to fill in all those times like that. If we had extra people, yeah, you could do something like that, but I based it upon historical, what we've gone through. We added extra this year because of the elections, but I covered them, so it didn't cost any overtime for the most part. I covered it. So that saved us some money over what I budgeted. That's why I was up to that. So I think, I mean, we've spent $11,000 this year in overtime, well, $10,764 as of the end of the last month. So, or, say, I guess I should look here.
As of Friday, yeah.
$10,763.50. I round $3, so 64. So, I added last year about $4,000 to cover for concerts and the elections this year. We didn't have some, well, we had some of the concerts, but I covered them, we were able to do it with minimal overtime. And part of that was in case we had to hire from outside too. That's why they put it in the budget, but we took care of it. So it hasn't been a, I appreciate it could cost that much if we had to fill everything every time, and, if you would say minimum mandatory staffing, if you will, that's the kind of cost that can go with that. But I think what I put in there historically should work fine.
So you're using a percentage of your gross wages or time?
Basically, that's how I figured it. Some places go 10%, I did 8%. But historically, that's worked fairly accurately.
Yeah, I mean, if we look in past years, you got 15 in 2015, you got 15 in 2016, you got 12, 9, and 17, 14, and...
Yeah, so some years that's close to that number, and obviously wages have gone up since then.
Right.
But also some of those years are very short-staffed too.
Right.
I think 2016 would be another election year.
Again?
2016 was.
Oh, 16 was, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Enough with the election.
I'm just saying, there's things that have impacted it. I guess historically, we've been in the 15, 14,000 range. Now we're 15.8, so a little higher.
So you put extra money in to cover concerts this year. Have you included?
Concerts and the elections.
And elections, right. Have you included money to cover concerts with overtime for 2021?
I basically figured we could cover it like this year again. The minimal cost, hoping. It'll be fine, I think.
Okay, conference and I'm sorry, we all set with conference and training.
Yes.
You're $10,000 over the 2016 budget.
The 16 budget?
Yeah, $3,000 more than last year. So walk me through what we're going to do.
Well, we've got to look at a lot of training on cultural awareness. We have to have training in de-escalation. This mental health training they're going to be mandating. We have to, all these things cost money and time. And unfortunately this year, due to COVID, a lot of that got shut down. A lot of the training we normally do. Now, I did put in there, where's that page?
So you have $4,000 on the tuition
Different classes, yeah. I don't know what the academy is gonna be able to offer this year. As it is right now, I mean, they've offered almost nothing this year. And not only have they offered nothing, we've been unable to attend because they shut the building down. But next year, we're definitely gonna have to get some of that training up to date. Because there's mandates federally and state to get some of this stuff done. Hopefully the academy can do some of that. One of the things I would say in here, there is money in here for ammunition.
$3,000.
Yes, and I'm looking at doing that this year, at least get the order started, because it could take, and I don't know if they'll bill it this year or next year, but if, it could take that long to get it, you could get it sometime next year. That's a concern.
So if we
Well,
use $3,000 worth of ammunition?
Potentially, yes.
Okay,
Potentially,
so
we could-
this isn't like we're gonna throw ammunition away and put new stuff on.
No.
Okay.
Like our duty gear, ammunition, our carry ammunition, and the stuff that sits in the vehicles that gets exposed to temperature, we change that every year. We use that for some of our quals and stuff. I'm just concerned that, given the way that goes, the way ammunition's going this year, it could take a while to get.
So you're planning to order that?
Huh?
You're planning to order that now?
Now, yes.
Okay,
But
so
I don't know if they'll
if
bill
you have
now.
money in this year's budget and you order it now, then all we gotta do is make sure we encumber that.
Okay.
You don't have to put it in next year's budget.
Okay. That sounds good.
All right, well, let's put, can we quantify that?
So that's $3,000. You wanna take that $3,000 or you wanna take some part of it out?
We can take the 2,000 out.
Okay?
Okay, so that brings that line down to $11,850,
Yeah.
which is $100 away from last year's line,
Yeah.
or this year's line, I'm sorry. That makes me happy.
Which line are you on?
Conferences and training.
Conference and training,
And what's the new number?
11,850.
11,850.
Yeah, it looks like you've got plenty of money this year in that line to.
Yeah, we didn't go to some training
Right.
because we couldn't.
And some of that, I realize it's gonna come in as revenue, so you can't really not budget for it. But some of that additional training that you're talking about is gonna be mandated. It's gonna have some funding elements to it as well. It isn't just gonna be an edict from on high that tells us we have to go to school
So far, it's only shown up as an edict from on
at
high.
our own expense. Well, that's part of the problem is everything's changing, so.
Well,
But there's,
as of this date, everything's come from an edict on high from the state, but we'll see how it goes through the legislative process in the state. There could be some.
well, no, and part of I mean, you still haven't gotten, you went through some of the money that came out of Washington for the COVID response. If there's more money that comes out of that, who knows, there may be an element of that money that is keyed towards re-educating our men in blue. Which the current government and Congress will try to use to balance the state budget, but we'll see what we can do. The only other question I had was on repair and maintenance.
Yeah,
What breaks are we doing for,
brakes, car brakes.
why are we, I thought our,
Estimated we could have $3,000 or $4,000 in that. Last set we did was just for a rear on one of the towers was like $600, I think. I'm shooting from the hip, but that was just one axle, $500 maybe.
So,
We are right now, I think we're over our budget right now, because I just,
on repairs and maintenance,
yep.
not as of Friday, you weren't.
Huh?
As of Friday, you'd spent $7,100 out of 10,600.
Yes, and I turned in a bill for almost $2,000, and then I'm waiting for a bill on tires, which will be another $600, and I need to get another set of tires, which will, well, the bill for the tires, I have to pay about $600 to the good year, then I pay so much to have them installed, so I'll be over the budget on that line this year.
On the issue of cruiser maintenance, and we'll put a smile on your face, Chip. Remember years ago, I took a course, fleet vehicles like taxis and police cruisers, because of the unique use, for every mile or engine hour that's on them, multiplied by 3. Also, the cost of keeping that vehicle on the road multiplied by 3. Just think of brakes, for example. In the course of 8 hours, they're used more than you
Yeah,
are.
no, I
hours in a
appreciate
month.
it. I just, $4,000 is 2 brake jobs. We're doing 2 brake jobs,
There's a good chance we could do 2 in a year.
and you have $4,000 worth, or $5,000 worth of rust repair. What's that on?
The truck, it's rusting out around the wheel well, it's got a couple other spots of rust.
Rims are rusted.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on dealing with the rims, I was talking about the body itself.
I was prepared to remove the rust from the budget and for us to encumber $10,000 to repair all of our cruisers that have rust. He did a very comprehensive list before the CIP committee the other night. Listed where this is eating through and where that's eating through. And I'm the type of person that all of our vehicles and equipment in town need to be taken care of. And that's not a hint that it's not being taken care of.
Well, I'm hopeful the charger goes off. That has some rust showing up around when you open the rear door on the inside, on the body. But I'm hoping that next year the charger goes off our concerns. I mean, I did put in the capital reserve to replace the vehicle next year.
These are over their rust warranties from the manufacturer.
Yeah, well over.
Have you had more rust issues with these Chrysler products than with other manufacturers?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, trucks around the wheel wells, typically that's an issue. You gotta do it, right?
I bolted some stuff on to cover it
Yeah,
up.
yeah, right. We could just pop rivet some stuff on. I did that with my truck, but, with the Charger, we've done okay, but prior years, the state police had a major problem with them. They actually, but state police buying 90 cars and having a bully pulpit, Chrysler came and took care of it. I don't know that they do that for us with one car, but they actually had enough that it was off the road, like within like 3 years. It was 2 years they had an issue. They actually had to have a new subframe put on, and Chrysler took care of it for their 60 or 90 cars, but, so.
So before we deducted the $3,000, we had a 3% increase in the police budget year to year. I guess we're probably down around 2.7. So unless
So you took,
$3 grand,
$3 grand out, so that'd be,
445, 747.
so the other thing in here, just so you know, I did increase the on-call time for the officers to $6 an hour.
The rate.
Yeah.
The rate they get for being on call. I mean, at some point, we may need to think about making that at least minimum wage and trying to get us to that, maybe, because it's a concern.
We had more than $6 to be on call, but we just increased the rate to by $6, am I right?
Right,
Okay.
but
So on-call means you're in town.
you're
Right.
home, in town,
Meaning
available.
in town and available.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Well, not in town, but you're available,
All
yeah.
right, all right. So available, you can't be far out of town.
Can't
if
be
you
far
gotta
away,
stop.
right.
But, and you can't be out partying,
Right.
right?
Probably could be.
I have a
You're limited to
couple,
what you can do.
I have a couple of comments.
Yeah.
As of November 1st, 2,031 and a half hours on call at $4 per hour is $8,126. That's an average of 50 3/4 hours per month on call,
50?
50.
Okay.
It's gonna be more than that a month.
Per week, rather.
It's gonna be.
I'm sorry.
Because budgeted at 56 hours a week, but if you get called out, then that goes away to some degree.
How many hours have you been on call?
I don't know, I've been on some, but I don't put in for it.
No, you don't put in for it, but the point is, you're saving the town that money, right?
Right. This would go towards the other 3 officers.
Right, okay. The other question I
If I
had,
can jump in here, I think the point, and we've talked about it before, with tracking your hours is not from a cost standpoint, but from a cost avoidance standpoint. Okay, so it would help us all if you could, similar to what you do for your officers, have available, here's how many hours I spent doing this, and this, and, you know, here's how much time I spent on call. Again, what you get paid isn't going to change.
Right.
But it does help us from a budgetary standpoint to look at a total picture. So,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
So you established, Lloyd, that there's 50 or 52 hours a week. in
yes.
General or on-call time.
Mhm.
So I can postulate from that adding $2 to the on-call time is gonna add $3,500 or $3,400 to the,
And my figures are only 11 months. Only 10
well,
months.
I just did 52.
It's around 5,800 if you add $2.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, $5,800, and that's included in your budget.
And the officer salaries.
$2, yeah, they made it 5,800.
Okay.
And what are you budgeting for special officers as far as pay?
Special officers?
Yes.
None. We don't have any, I didn't know we were gonna go back into that. I put it on there because it's an artifact from last year, but as you notice, there's no time down there.
You just said we have a short bench.
Well,
How did the board feel about special officers?
I'm not sure, well, obviously, in the world would be special officers available, but I'm not certain that the chief's gonna be able to provide any for us, so I don't wanna budget for something that we're dreaming about. And my other concerns, I guess, in the officer area would be that we've made our public policy that we want a police officer at each election. And we've also made it our public policy that we want a police officer covering the concerts or whatever big events might be happening in town.
We also want officers at the beverage event, right?
Right.
And that's 1,000 people, and you might have to budget more than
but
that.
But that's not us, that's them.
Yeah, that's
They pay
them.
that cost.
Right. I'm talking just town stuff. And as long as the chief has police officers to do the general work of the town and accommodate our public policy.
And that's a dedicated officer at those events, not just someone on call showing up.
Preferably, that's the way we do it. Hopefully, there's some coordination that has to go on all of this. As far as the elections are concerned, I think there has to be a dedicated officer, and the chief's done a great job of providing that. Till we stop allowing guns at elections, and we can do that on police officers. But I think he's got a good staff, and I don't know that we have any, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, if there are special officers available out there in officer land.
what I'm hearing from other places, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
I believe Sandwich is down to basically, I talked to, it was at the elections, I spoke to Chief Barney, who lives in town here.
Right.
They had several, now they're down to basically one who works some, but not much. So it's two of them, they can call a lot of hours, so. And to Lloyd's point, I'm sure I could put special hours in, no problem, but that also affects some other areas that I hadn't budgeted in. I'd have to buy a gun, I'd have to buy uniforms, I'd have to, provide things. And the other part of that is right now, there's a lot of flux as to what is ultimately gonna come out of, you know, the governor put a task force, a commission together, they made certain recommendations to the governor has charged Police Standards and Training Council. They are looking very hard at the budget, they're looking very hard at what the part-time academy is gonna be. There were some recommendations to repeal it. It was not a unanimous, the commission wasn't unanimous whether or not to continue. Now we could have full-timers that are certified to maybe work full-time someplace else. Then we run into how that's gonna, with their schedule working with ours. It could be, there's a lot of talk about changing the academy around dramatically to make it a daytime academy. So there's a lot of things in flux there that I don't know that we
None of that's gonna have an effect in 2021, correct?
not unless we add people.
Well, right, all I'm saying is, in terms of all of these new things coming forward, whatever happens, there has to be some legislative process associated with a lot of this. And there isn't anything today that we can look at and say, we have to budget X number of extra dollars because of such and such. Right,
That's-
because it's pretty fluid at this point.
Some is and some isn't, like the part-time academy, that's set by POL rule, the Police Standards and Training. It's called POL, the rules, and some of it's set by rules, and I was kind of surprised, I thought a lot of it, more of it would have to come through legislation. Like the part-time academy, that's set by rules, administrative rules, so they can pretty much just run them up the flagpole to the legislatures, say, this is what we want to do, and if they rubber stamp it, which most other administrative rules are, not too often they're changed, that would change dramatically. And same thing with the way the academies run. I mean, the law basically says they have to set an academy.
And I guess to bring this up to a close a little bit, one thing that I haven't seen happen, and I don't expect to see it happen in '21, is that we search around in the general budget for money to pay for something that the police department can't pay for. But that said, if there is an emergency situation or a desperate need situation, that's an avenue that we can exercise. I don't know that pushing the general police budget, the annual police budget any further than it is, makes a lot of sense, but.
Not absent some direct identifiable, here's what it's gonna cost us, because this is gonna happen.
Yeah. And I think.
Well, can we move this along?
So I have two things too. Obviously, there's some things in the budget for next year that potential could be to buy this year with leftover funds, if you will. One was the transcription system. It's been a problem trying to get stuff transcribed. I looked at, for one case, sending out the transcription, and it was going to cost me probably in the neighborhood of $1,000 to $1,500 to have an interview transcribed. And that was just one case. We have several a year. I talked to the county attorney's office, and they said, no, don't send it out yet, we'll hold off. So I didn't have to spend that money this year. But we have had to have some transcribed, and so that's in the budget next year.
So what's the
And
system?
what line is it in?
It's in the new equipment.
Okay,
I think I budgeted 4,000. Well, it's software, it's the recorders, it's the transcriber that the administrative assistant would use. It's a whole package of ragged, naturally speaking, professional.
Dragon speed.
So, I mean, if we were to do that this year, I mean, I had a quote a couple months ago, like 4,800, so that's why we did it this year. That would take some of it out.
So,
so are you suggesting that we adjust that line in your budget down?
I would suggest, yeah, if you would, yeah, I would think we could take that. If we do it this year, we could take the new equipment down to
Can we-
$4,000.
can we take the if out of it?
Now what?
I mean, what's the transcription system cost?
$3,800 is the quote I got now.
Okay.
So you're talking about if you do it. So you have 21,000 in new equipment this year, you haven't spent any, right? So
Right, because
I guess my question is, if this is something you had money budgeted this year for, why isn't it on order?
I didn't budget for that, I budgeted for computers, I still have to order them.
Okay, so
That's
that
separate.
21,000 is computers.
Computers.
So are you, okay.
Yeah,
Of the 21,000, is there $3,800 in there to buy this?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
so,
Can I make a suggestion on this issue?
yeah.
We leave the budget as it is, and if in a month you come back and you've done transcription, we can ask the budget committee to lower that line in that budget.
I guess I would suggest just taking it out now.
yeah, me too. Let's take $3,000 out.
yep,
Which line?
new equipment, let's go from 13 to 10. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 442, 747. Would be the bottom line. And you need to get us the contract for that so we can sequester that money, because you're not gonna spend it until after the first of the year probably, unless they've got it right in stock.
Yeah, I could get it pretty quick, I think. I can check with the guy.
All right, well, why don't you order it this week?
Yeah.
All right,
I'll get a new price this week first, to make sure. New quote.
all right, and you had something else?
The other thing, I mean, it's, may not seem like, I probably could just do it anyways, but I thought I'd run it by, that's in the budget for next year. My office, I would take out of the office equipment, take 1,500 out of that. It's a software license I was gonna get a one-time, I would take that out. I'll do it this year,
That's,
because it's just a matter of calling them up and saying I want it.
software is $1,200.
No, it's actually the IMC, our RMS system. Yeah,
So you want to
take that down 1,500.
I'm sorry, what line are we looking at?
The first line.
The first line of what?
Oh, I'm sorry. well,
Office equipment, it says RMS adding mobile license. If we take that off now, we can save some money on that.
On your front page, you have office supplies.
You're right, and then in the last 15 of 15 that I did,
Okay,
So you're
Alright.
taking 1,500 out of RMS, is that?
of the first line there, RMS 7,000, take that down to 5,500.
all right.
Thank you.
So that reduces that line to
11,458.
11,458.
58. So we come up with a bottom line of 431,389.
Well,
Am I close?
uh,
No.
no,
I
you
took all of it out, didn't I?
yeah.
Hold on.
So we're taking $7,500 out of the 448, right?
Yes.
So that's 441, 247, right?
Yeah, 441, 247.
All right. Anything else?
Excuse me.
Nope.
I will move,
Well, I guess the only other thing, and like I said before, I moved it from 4 to 6 on-call time. I think at some point we need to look at making sure it's at least minimum wage. I think only because I realize it's not like.
I'll be happy to have an extended discussion about that. I'm intrigued, but
Yeah,
I don't see that being on call is actually working. Okay,
Uh,
so anyway,
yeah.
let's not do that now.
Okay.
Let's talk about it some other time.
got it.
All right,
I will support the pay raise for on-call to $6 an hour. I think it should take effect after town meeting.
So that's included in the budget that's presented.
Yes, the $6 is included.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna give you one more chance, Bill, and then I'm gonna do it for you.
I'll move police budget 4210 in an adjusted amount of $441,247.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Chief.
And you have those adjustments, right?
I do.
Okay, so we've adjusted 3 of the areas now.
While you're here, can I ask about Lakes Region Humane Society?
Yes,
And I'm jumping to another budget. We have health agencies.
yeah,
That's not animals, is it?
yes it is.
And I noticed for the first time, we have a $250 request from them. Don't we have an animal control budget where that's covered?
So they asked for 250 from the town?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what that, yes, we do, we pay them, we have a contract and we pay them per dog, per animal, per cat, per dog.
Yep.
We have done very well about recovering, making sure, I think we're pretty lucky that most people here in the town, they're not having too many strays that we want.
Is also sick or bites and stuff like that, right? And we
But
don't-
they're not, they also have a
fortunately-
lot, people here pay for their dogs
Yes.
and cats to get them back. They're not being on the hook for a lot of unclaimed animals. Or we might have had, I think, maybe 1 or 2, so we haven't done much. I can't answer for why they're, but if I ask them for money, because like a lot of nonprofits this year has been tough for fundraising and stuff, so. I just to bring something up that's not in the budget, and I haven't asked for it, but I know I mentioned it at the capital improvement program. I mean, one of the things that comes up is body worn cameras and how that could go. I got a price from a company that's, I think, not unrealistic, if you will, for what they could cost. If we go with the body and cruiser ones, it's $55,000. And then if we go with the just body cameras, it would be almost $28,000 the first year. And it's $7,200 a year after that for the body, and then it's like $10,000 if you have body and cruiser ones. Anyway, it's,
And this is for the equipment and the support?
this is equipment, support, storage. The only thing it would not cover is our cost to run the system. I need somebody to make sure the system is in place and running and reviewing videos.
So that's a warrant article, that's not going in your.
And I wasn't planning on asking for it as a warrant article either. Just giving a heads up if anybody says, hey, we really want the police to have them, this is what it's gonna cost. And that's not the time either, as we don't have a deep bench. Time's an important factor that costs into it too. Right now, there's no mandate that we have to do it, but we don't know what the legislature will do with these recommendations. And my fear is that they're gonna come up with, okay, if it's gonna cost you $55,000, you need to check for $55,000. That's not the $7,200 a year or the $10,000 a year that's gonna cost to run the system ongoing, plus the time. I fear they could come up with a grant for just the cost to buy this equipment, not necessarily pay for the ongoing cost of the equipment. So, but just to give you a heads up, that's the kind of money you're talking if we switch to a system. There are cheaper systems, but they would cost more time to run them, I think. And that is kind of a factor that maybe look at this. This is a system that has a lot of positives to it, I think, as far as self-triggering and low overhead and of time, relatively low compared to some other systems. Department time to administer them. But anyway, just throw that up there, you know, it's been recorded, and if anybody has any grand ideas of doing it, this is what it's gonna cost us a year.
Great.
All right?
Thanks, Chief.
Okay.
And as I said, it's pretty fluid, because there's just recommendations, the legislature hasn't even,
Like, they haven't acted on it.
they haven't acted on anything, nor have they, LSRs have been filed, but no legislation has been shown yet, so.
Chief, can I have
Do you want to go into health agencies, Chairman?
Sure.
okay, I'll just.
No. So,
I have the letters from each of those agencies.
Oh,
Yes.
that's what I was gonna say, in past years, we've had backup for all of these requests.
so Tri-County Action is going down $700, let's say. But they're gonna include the Blue Loon bus, which we historically have given $3,000 to.
Right.
I don't, so they do utility assistance, Blue Loon bus, and homeless intervention
So this year
for
we,
less money.
gave them about $9,200, and they're asking for $53.75 for,
We gave them $61.92.
no, we gave them 3,000 more, the Blue Loon.
Right,
We gave them,
okay, yeah.
gave them 92, and now they're asking for 54.
Right.
So either they're providing less services, or they've become much more efficient at it.
I'll go with category A.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so that one was a question I had. Wolfboro Senior Center is no longer with us, or did they just not ask for anything?
She said that they did not ask, they chose not to ask this year.
Okay. So the, and I, not to keep talking, but I'm gonna keep talking.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with Lakes Region Humane Society asking for a $250 donation, I think.
Well, it's the last page there, on the letters. And the last sentence is, we're asking for 500, and we have 250 here. And I asked the chief, and he just said that the people paid all the fees. So I'm gonna say, let's cut that out, because the people are already paying the fees.
No, I think the chief was clear that this isn't about the fees. This is because they're a nonprofit and they're trying to keep the doors open.
Yeah.
So that's a service that we pay for and they charge us for. This is different. It's sort of like school tuition pays for the school,
This,
but the fundraisers pay for keeping the doors open.
And yet the letter asked, for the last line asked for 500, and somehow it got reduced to 250. Maybe it was a typo on their part, I don't know.
Well, no,
What was
maybe
it?
Diane put it in.
Did somebody in our office make that determination?
I didn't.
did the department head do that?
There is a department head for health agencies.
Woof.
So,
Jesus, we got more
So she could
bureaucracy
change
around
that.
here. Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve health agencies 4415 for $39,935.
Second. Any further discussion?
do we want to consider increasing that Humane Society to what they requested, which is $500 instead of $250?
So, it'll be more in keeping with what we generally spend.
Right.
So I'll amend my motion to approve 4415 to increase Lakes Region Humane Society to $500 from the 250 that's listed, which would give us a total budget of $40,185.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Nice job. Next, signature file. First item of business, Lakes Region Household Hazardous Product Collection Program Commitment Letter for the summer of 2021. The community of Tufton Borough has appropriated $4,300 for the purpose, pending approval of 2021 town meeting.
And that's the, ends up with 2 collection dates, is that right?
July 31st and/or August 7th. I'll begin the discussion. We're no longer able to go to Ossipee because they withdrew last year. Instead, we sent them to Effingham. Now, Wolfboro, our town residents can still go there and pay.
Right.
I asked Clay, is there a possibility of having a collection point in Tufton Borough? And I'm going to still ask him that question. I want to get every pint of bad stuff I can so it doesn't go in the environment. And it certainly makes sense to me. You're coming to the transfer station, like drug give back. Is there a way of doing it? We're talking about 30 carts.
So, and I would think if we do it, we would do it like at the fire station. You wouldn't do it at the transfer station so that you don't have to mix it with other stuff.
Well, I was also thinking of where can you drive and have a little bit of a line of the driveway at the school? The stuff isn't getting spilled.
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple. The guy who runs it, Davis, Jeffers, was right around the corner here. Just a thought of, can we provide a service for the same amount of money and keep it in town?
Okay, so that doesn't change the contract, that just potentially changes the location.
Sure. What difference is it whether the people who handle that stuff pick it up in this parking lot or in Effingham? The cost is the same. The person that it helps out is all of us.
So are you suggesting that we hold off on dealing with this until we find out if they would move it here?
Yes.
Are you aware of any sort of a deadline that they're up against with respect to making a commitment to the vendor for next year?
I've had no contact or I haven't investigated this. I just had a conversation with Clay, and he said, let's look into it. One of his employees said, well, we'll just have people drive through that building. I think, and he thinks that's a little bit narrow. There is a point, what happens if it's bad weather and it's raining, which I agree with.
I'm aware that most of the towns that participate in this, I think it's at a different site than their transfer station.
Yes.
It's at, and they do that for 2 reasons, I believe. One is so that you take any traffic associated with that and you don't get it mixed in with folks that are trying to just dump their garbage off. And the other thing is you don't have any, there's no possibility that any of the hazardous stuff gets into the compactor because you're not even at that location.
Right.
So when they pack up to go, there's nothing left laying around the edges that might go where it shouldn't go. So,
Can we postpone it 1 week?
I think we need
well, we're gonna postpone it 2 weeks, right, because we don't meet next week.
And I think Clay needs to be here, I know he can make a decision.
But it's not a Clay thing. Household hazardous waste, it's a contract between the town and,
No, I thought we were gonna open up a facility here to do it.
well, it would be a town location, but it would be the
Right.
transfer station running. It's the contractor that runs it, right?
Right? Well, for example,
So-
could it be, like we changed Island Day, could it be held at the transfer station, but when they're not open? I don't know, I'm throwing some things on the wall, see what
Does it make
sticks.
sense to see if Dave Jeffers would come talk to us about that?
Sure.
And while I'm not against using the school parking lot, that involves another government agency,
Yes, it does.
okay? And so, you know, using the fire station is easy in terms of just our thing. And
You know, if it's 30 cars, maybe this could be used, this location, because
Right.
there's a staging area here.
so maybe we could have a sit down with Dave Jeffers at our
Excellent
next
idea.
meeting
Excellent idea.
and explore it.
Can you set that up for our next meeting?
Yeah,
David Jeffers?
She can do anything.
I tried.
2:15.
Okay. So are we tabling?
So we're gonna table that until we have a further discussion, yeah?
Next item is from our tax collector. In the name of the state, you are hereby directed to collect property taxes on the list herewith committed to you amounting to the sum of $5,478,881.
I will move approval.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
We need a battery for our clock.
Yes, we do.
The next item is notice of appointment to Stephen Wingate of Tuftonboro for his representation on the Lakes Region Planning Commission for Tuftonboro. Term expires April 21st, 2023. This is a reappointment.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Yep.
And I did talk to him and he was willing to do it.
What's that?
I did talk to him.
Yeah.
He was willing to do it if you had no one else in mind.
We have no one else in mind.
The other, last item to sign, and you need to direct me to do it, is authorization to enter into a contract with Stantec Consulting Services. This is for $28,500 per their September proposal. I have a question. Is this for 3 years?
Yeah, we already voted.
That's what you voted on.
Yes. Do I have your permission to sign it? We voted on it, right?
You did?
Yeah.
Do we need to re-vote?
I don't know that we need to.
Okay.
I guess we can authorize, I'll move that we authorize the chair to sign it. Does that have more than one signature? Or?
It just says one signature.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Bill, did you second?
I seconded, yeah.
Bill seconded. Reluctantly, but he's.
Reluctantly, yes. So, and it's my hope that Stantec will begin getting the reports into the state on time. I understand that they were woefully late this year.
Can you pass this down to Kathy with the other 2 items that were signed?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's easy now that we can say, we've made a commitment to Stantec, we need to make a commitment to us.
Okay, let's go on to correspondence. Have you folks seen the circulation from Tufton Free Library?
Yep.
Board of Adjustment, there'll be a hearing on the 17th. Board of Adjustment, notice of decision for Hamel. Overall record breaking. This is the children served by New Hampshire Child Advocacy Centers. And I see that one of the top fundraisers was our police officer, Abby Gillis, who raised $1,520. Any other correspondence?
I added some to you. The CIP submitted an email with an updated CIP chart.
Yes.
That's added this morning.
Yes.
And is there there's a missile that came along with it? Are they having another meeting?
Yes, the November 11th.
November 11th?
Their correspondence is, have you seen it? It's this letter here.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things jumped right out at me. The police facility capital reserve at $200,000 needs to, I don't know, I think it's our plan to pay for the thing this year, if we possibly can. So I don't know whether that needs to be there. The $15,000 portable changeable message trailer, I agree, needs to move out of here. And if you just did those two things, you're down to $941,000, which is pretty close to the 919.
There's actually two message trailers. One for police department and one for solid waste.
Right, and then we've got.
Do we remove both of those?
Well,
No, the message trailer is 2022 for the police.
so this is the state of the draft on their chart. This is not what they're gonna, there's gonna be further discussion and action on the part of the CIP in terms of where the recommendations are gonna be, right? So, and I think Jill has outlined in here some potential moving things around to
Yeah, and are we buying another police cruiser this year? That's
they're recommending that.
CIP, I'm asking if the police department's recommended.
He's submitted for it,
Did he? Okay.
so
What does the board feel?
I think it's premature to act on it at this point.
Right.
But, you know, an awful lot has to do with where we're gonna end up going to town meeting. If we're, and this is my view, if we determine we can make that heavy lift this year and get the police facility in,
Mhm.
then a lot of other stuff
It's been-
that we're gonna look to put capital money into, we need to see what we can scrub out and delay a little bit. So that the bump that we see in commitment this year is not as big a bump as it would be if we throw all of the stuff that we would have in a normal year into the pot.
Right.
That's my view.
Okay.
So,
With that.
you know, what I see in CIP is they're proceeding on the assumption that we will put some money aside this year for police facility and we'll buy it next year.
Right.
And that, in my view, is a fallback position where we'd like to be, which is get her done.
Right, and this, I mean, a lot of stuff's moving around, and I know that CIP is just an advisory board, but like the Lake Road
Yep,
may happen this coming year, may happen the year after,
yep.
but it's gonna happen well before 2024 from my perspective. Anyway, okay, with that. So we all going to the meeting on the 11th?
No, well,
Or anybody else?
you're going, right?
Okay.
So, as a representative, they're making the presentation, the final presentation on December 1st to the budget committee, and you'll be there. And,
Unfortunately.
budget committee, planning board, and in this board. I will not be there because I'll be on an airplane coming back from Thanksgiving.
At the 11th meeting, is there anything you want me to share from the Board of Selectmen?
Well, I mean, you can share the Markson's comments that depending on how the police station plays out, a lot of this stuff may move
Yes.
to the right.
Right.
Yep.
You know, as we sit here today, it's a heavy lift to get from where we are now to doing it in 2021. And my view is that part of what gets us there is when we get through the design process and get a real number on what the construction is going to be. If it goes up a lot from what we've been working with, then it becomes an even heavier lift. I know we have some potential grants out there beyond what's already been identified, depending upon whether those come to fruition, whether there's, and how much they are, it all goes into the pot. But, you know, if we're looking to raise $750,000 from taxes in 1 year, let's say, to do this, that's a pretty steep.
Yes, it is.
That's not gonna happen.
Pretty
But if we
steep.
got, let's say there's $750,000 that we need to raise, and we can raise $375,000 in taxes and do the balance out of the reserve, that's not that bad a deal, I don't think.
If we follow the roadmap that we used with the library, yes.
Right, but
Makes sense.
if, it may be that we all fall back to the $200,000 in capital reserve for the police we do in 2022.
Yeah,
We'll have to see.
yeah.
Okay, Selectmen's updates. I have a question. Would it be appropriate at a work session to have the chairman of the planning board in to master plan, get her done? What is it, the legal budget going to be, an estimate? And,
I think it's already provided that.
okay, and the other thing is, does he need any secretarial services?
So, I don't know that we need to have him come to this meeting. If it's your desire, you certainly can ask for it. I think we have a pretty good communication between the planning board and this. Maybe I'm mistaken.
I think we do, I think you do Yeoman's.
So, I'll be happy to provide just some updates on the planning board. We did have a meeting on Thursday night. And at that meeting, the board decided to hire a different consultant to finish the master plan.
There you go.
So, yeah, I think I had shared before that it was a well shared opinion among the board that the work that had been, most recent work that had been done out of the current consultant just was, it was a nothing burger, just a regurgitation of what was in the 2006 plan. So there will be some additional costs. I don't know exactly how much at this point. We do have money still out there, but as that comes together, we'll figure it out. But one of the things that we discussed is to have, as a part of wrapping the plan rewrite up, to have a survey done by the consultant. Remember back in 2015, the planning board put together a little sort of a, I call it back of the envelope survey and mailed it out to everybody. And And the planning board, at planning board meetings, spent a lot of time tabulating that input. It was a feeling among many in town and a number of people on the planning board, and certainly on the planning board now, that survey did not well serve us in terms of identifying wants, needs, concerns in the community. So that's why we're looking at having a professionally written and administered survey as part of putting this whole thing together. Because when we bring it to the town, which should be in 2021, it needs to be a 2021 document, not a 2016 document that the state has 5 years to get done.
Correct.
So that's what's going on master plan. At our next meeting on the 19th, I think it's 19th, Wolfboro will be making a presentation on site plan for the parcel for the RIB that is in Tuftonboro. And they're intending to come with a governmental exemption. And I know that Planning Board Council has got that for review. That the effect of municipal exemption is any concerns or suggestions that are raised are advisory rather than mandatory. I think it's safe to say there's difference of opinion as to whether municipal exemption applies to another municipality. I mean, we know it applies to us. It will apply. It will apply to us for instance, the cell tower lots, cell towers that we're putting in. Well, that's why I say it applies. It clearly applies to municipality within their own borders, and it applies to other higher government counties and states and the feds and that sort of thing. But I take it from the approach that they're pursuing that they have probably gotten advice from council that they can do this.
Well, there's one case, but it has nothing in common
Right.
with what they're doing. But the
So
Supreme Court ruled on.
So planning board council is going to review it. Yeah, absolutely. But they will be. They do intend to present their site plan at the meeting on the 19th. So, and we have extra chairs available in the gallery for anybody that
The only one that have a balcony.
Yep. The only other thing that I want to mention while I'm on updates is this afternoon, the Milfoil Joint Board is meeting to open bids for a piece of equipment that we've offered for sale. And we'll see where that goes. We did receive our state bid package for milfoil control for 2021. And I've reached out to the contractors that have done work for us before to provide their bids. They're due to the state on the 25th. And that's all I have.
All right, the only thing I had to bring up about the planning board is I heard some comment about they're making decisions about public broadcasting of their meetings or filming of their meetings. They don't get to decide. We set public policy. So if we decide that the planning board is going to be on camera, they're going to be on camera, whether they like it or not. Because it's our function to manage public policy. It's not the function of all our boards to decide who's going to take out on other things. I don't know if it's an issue or not. I just want to put that out there. And if they have good reason not to want to do something, they need to come to us and ask not to do it. That's how it's got to work. So we can stop down with elections and just make you king. I don't have, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so there has not been any policy in the past, and there is currently no policy about broadcasting meetings.
Yeah, because we haven't been in COVID. so
Right,
it really didn't-
right. So are you suggesting that we establish a policy?
Well, I think we ought to discuss it if this was going to become an issue. I mean, I think we've been pretty gracious about providing Joe to make sure it goes on to YouTube,
Yep.
et cetera. We now have a camera here for whatever purposes that's going to do. So I think all I'm saying is that we're going to determine the policy, whether or not people like it or not. And anything that the chairman, I mean, if Gordon Hunt decided he didn't want to have the budget committee meetings on television, I'm sorry, Gordon, you don't get to say that.
Right.
The law says he can be,
Right.
as long as they're
Yeah,
not
that's
intrusive.
yeah, we're paying him.
Yes, but the point is, they are meant to be open here.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from.
I mean, I think maybe we should have a discussion. It's not today, obviously, because I just brought it up.
Yep.
Okay?
Sure. I don't know, was there an issue?
I don't know. I'm hearing this third hand, so I'm just saying.
So somebody brought this.
Somebody said something about somebody that, and that there was a question about how to broadcast the planning board meetings. So if there's an issue, we need to, yeah, and you're our rep. So I
Right.
just wanted to make that clear.
Yep.
Anything else?
So during the, yep. During the height of the pandemic, the planning board did use this camera to conduct some meetings. And applicants and parties coming before the planning board were doing it virtually. It didn't work out very well with respect to that. As things loosened up to where we could accommodate reasonable numbers of people in this room, it went away. If we want to mandate that all boards and committees have their meetings on GoToMeeting, we can certainly do that. We'll have to train a bunch of people. And, that's
Well, I mean, we've accommodated people with this,
yep.
so that people can call in. You know, we have to make some accommodation, and to say that we're not going to either make the meeting or you're out of luck, I don't see that as a reasonable response. But I don't want to get into a protracted discussion about it today.
No, I think that's fine.
And obviously, if there's bigger issues out there, then the chair, you know, somebody asked that the chairman need to come in here and see us from the planning board. Maybe he does. Maybe we need to have a little longer discussion. I don't know. We can get to that point. But that would include I'm not just isolating Matt. I'm
Right.
saying all of the major committee chairmen would have to weigh in on what they'd like to see happen.
Anything else for updates?
I
I have a couple.
We're going to be regularly. I'm running out of updates.
Yeah.
I walked the Gould property and looked for the ribbon for the
Yeah.
potential cell tower. I found it. It looks like the tower site is partially in one of the trails. It looks like to me that if it does go there, the trail can just go around it. My recommendation to the board is that we're just about ready to move on this issue. Do we need to make any decisions today?
I thought we already decided.
Okay, everything's been signed?
Yeah, we've already decided to go with the lease. And I think any of these little contingency issues are just going to get settled as it goes forward.
I think that they can be resolved very easily. For example, I asked Jim Beam, when they start the construction behind his facility, where are they going to be, and, you know, what about the safety of that equipment? Well, he'll just move his snow plows and his sanders someplace else, so, I don't think this is significant to interfere with the project. It needs to go full speed ahead. So we're all set on cell towers.
Yep.
I asked Clay, now that his budget is over, to please submit within 2 weeks the paper recycling costs that we asked him to do. And he says, yep.
But we're not going to include that in his operating budget anyway.
No, what he's doing is a white paper so that if we get
And
asked,
we can decide if we want to fund that,
Yes.
fund it separately.
yep, and like you folks asked, we just need to know what the project will cost. I have some more information on northern boundaries for a grant. Kathy, could you have our grant writer contact me, please? That's all I have for selectmen's updates. Any other business?
Let me just back up to the cameras. If it's the sense of this board that we would like the planning board to go back online with the meetings, I will pass that along. We'll get it.
Discussion is helping.
Get it back on.
I have no problem with that, you asking.
You know, I think about the Wolfboro meeting coming up.
Yep.
And there's going to want to be some participation in that, and I'm not sure
Yep.
we can accommodate the number. Some people, we have members of the budget committee that want to do virtual as opposed to come to the meetings.
Right.
And my feeling is, yeah, it would be nice, at least through the winter here, that we have a virtual meeting.
Sure. Please investigate.
So, I will, if the board wants it to be on, to be televised, then I will tell the planning board to,
Yeah, is there any
That'd
help
be-
doing it, or
that it will
someone
be
to
televised. Yeah.
You had your hand up, go ahead, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting, sir.
To add on to Bill's comment, once upon a time, I used to do this all the time, and because of present conditions, I can't. I hope to, back in the future, to continue to do this, but I am in support as far as the camera, so not only I see what's going on, but everybody else can. Okay, these are only comments and no discussion. I'm still hung up for $150 an hour on boat maintenance. I listened to Jim the other day. It's $163 to fix the trucks. Now, because we're a town, are they asking us to, because we're a town, to get to charge the higher rate? That's not the same for everybody across the board.
I'll offer this opinion,
Sure.
and that is that I don't think they charge us more than they charge other people.
Really?
I don't know what the shop rate at the auto dealer is now,
But at the
but if you
shop
checked it
rate,
recently, it's probably up there as well.
25 years ago, it was $48 an hour.
Okay,
No.
25 years ago, it was $48 an hour at a shop rate in an auto shop.
but the shop rate these days is running between $65 and $80 an hour. Okay, understood. This is
That's auto shop.
auto
So
shop.
Boat rate's always higher, and heavy truck rate is always higher.
Okay. Moving on. I want to talk, we talked about the issue about, Andy says there's rust on the truck, on the new truck.
Right.
Wasn't that sealed initially when we first bought it? Or are we just waiting for it to rust and then we're gonna seal it? Okay. We talked about special offices. Andy had just casually mentioned, well, you might need uniforms, or I might need a gun. And I'm saying to myself, well, gee, we got state police here, and we got the county people here. Does that mean they have to change into a Tufton Borough uniform in order to be a special officer for the town? Just a comment. Hang on, I'm almost done. Okay, yeah, I was upset about $2,000 for a brake job. Hell, let's train one of the officers, they could do the brake job for less than that.
Well, I'll just offer you this.
Yes,
I had a brake job done on my truck, it was about a year and a half ago. And it included new rotors,
oh,
right? And it was over $2,000.
I had a brake
So-
job done on my truck
Yeah,
you
a
know,
month ago, and it was $1,100.
yeah.
but we're looking,
It's just-
if, we all grew up together, and we know the difference between, it's a 40% rise in price over the counter, literally, as far as parts are concerned. When it comes to that, rotors cost a lot. Okay, and what I don't understand on the last part is transcriptions. He needs to transcribe some data or some words or some paperwork to what? From where?
So this is automatic transcription of, let's say, interviews, that sort of thing.
Okay, but
For court.
what's involved? I guess I just don't understand.
My understanding is that if you do it manually, so you're listening to a tape recording
Yes,
and you're typing it in so that you have a transcription.
right.
If you use a piece of software, then it does the transcription.
Right, there is software out there where you talk into the machine and it prints it
That's
out.
right, and that's right.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes, that is.
Okay, thank you. That's all I got, I'm tired. Thank you.
Anything else to come before the board publicly? We have two issues that need to go into non-public.
Okay. I'll move that we go into non-public for RSA 91A3, and I don't know which
Personnel?
personnel. Personnel.
I'll second.
Wood, yes?
Marcus, and yes.
All the,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.